Hi folks, Six Slices here. Now this is an interesting knife to me, but probably isn't interesting to anybody else. But I'll sort of give it my sort of history with it. Back when I was about 8 or 9, we used to buy pocket knives from the local shop in Dalgety Bay. It was known as Tommy's Newsagent. I think it's still there, but whether it's still called Tommy's or not, I don't know. It's probably a Spar or something nowadays. But it was one of those, there was a newsagent in the front, the sort of grocers at the back. But they always had a card on the wall with pocket knives, and there were all the Richartz of Sheffield shell handled pocket knives, which I don't have an example, so I can't show you one. But they were very common. Quite often they had tartan handles because we were in Scotland, or burgundy coloured handles was the other sort of fairly common one. Anyway, you would buy these for pocket money prices, and we would sort of do stupid things like throwing them and whatever, and they never really lasted very long. And now they're collectible and people pay good money for them. Back in the day, I think you paid sort of 30 or 40 pence for one. But one of the things that came up in Tommy's was this knife. And that wasn't actually this example, because well, I'll tell you about mine in a minute, but this one came up for sale the other day. Somebody was selling it from a collection, and they wanted to sell the whole collection, but I didn't really want the collection. But I just fancied this because it's the first sheath knife I ever owned, or it's an example of the first sheath knife that I ever owned. It comes in a little leather sheath, and this sheath's actually in pretty good nick, considering this is well, I bought mine in about 74, so it's, it's 40 years old if it's a day, nearly 50 years old. So it's for it to be in this sort of condition is pretty good. I suspect mine, well, I don't know what happened to the sheath of mine, but I know that the knife got thrown away because you've got this steel blade, and the tang comes to about here, and it's just a little thin metal tang. And I used to throw this knife because that's what you did when you were a youth, I was irresponsible and stupid, so I used to throw it a lot. It snapped, and I glued it back together with some sort of glue that never really set properly. This sort of plastic just doesn't really glue desperately well, or didn't glue with the glues that we had in those days very well. I tried various types of glue and it never really worked, and eventually I just gave up on it, and I must have thrown it away. But it's just a plastic handle. It's supposed to look like stag, and I suppose it's relatively nice considering it probably cost about £1 at the time. And you've got this picture of a stag's head on it. Now, where does it come from? Well, that's the other thing I should say. I bought this the other day and it was rusty. It was completely rusty. So I've polished it as far as I can. I don't know if it's plated or rather than stainless steel, but I can't seem to get anywhere with these marks. They seem to just be dug in, but I've polished them as well as I can, so at least it should preserve it. I was using the where is it? I can't see it. The Dutch bushcraft knives. Oh, here it is. Not this one. This is what they call stroppy stuff. This is their 4, whatever it is. What are they called? Not micron. 4 micron. Very high density of diamonds in it, and I used that to give it a polish. Then I sharpened it on the workshop, and then gave it a wee strop with the Dutch bushcraft boys 1 micron stuff. Very good stuff. I have to say it's expensive, but it really works well. I need to do a video on that at some point as well. Anyway, the marks on this blade. It has here, if we can see it all right. Oh, can we see it there? There's a picture of a whale in the water, Solingen and Germany. Now, that's a trademark of a company called Richartz with a Z. Now, they were bought up at some point, but they used to have a factory in Sheffield. So whether this knife was actually made in Solingen or whether it was made in Sheffield, I don't know. And I don't know if anybody else out there can tell me. If you can, I'm quite interested to know, because I know it says Solingen, Germany, but as I say, Richartz with a Z had a factory in Sheffield as well as in Solingen. So yeah, I don't know. Anyway, it's not a great knife. Let's face it, this was a £1 knife. It's might even be less than that. It's quite thin, 2mm probably steel, with a sabre grind. It's probably supposed to look like a Scandi grind, but it isn't. It has a micro bevel. It does have a rather sharp polished edge on it, but I did that since I got it. It's got a brass coloured guard on it. It isn't brass because it just won't polish up like brass at all. So I take it it's some sort of coloured metal, and I say plastic handle with a very short tang, metal tang inside, which only comes to say about here. And if you throw these, they snap, and the handle snaps, and that's it, ruined. So I won't be throwing this one. You know, when I was a child, my thoughts, my words, my deeds were those of a child, but now I am full grown. I put away those childish things, and I look after my stuff. So this will last forever. So I just thought I'd show it because I've been after one of these for a while, just because it sort of fills that hole in my collection. I replaced it when I was 10 with an 8-inch Bowie, 8-inch bladed Bowie from Sheffield, which I used right the way through my teens and into my 20s. By that time, carrying knives was starting to be a bit more of an issue, but in those days I used to put my knife on when I left the house and we'd go off camping or fishing or whatever I was doing. That knife served as a multifunction knife for everything, and then I would go home and I'd take it off when I got home, and nobody batted an eyelid. If I do remember a friend of mine being stopped carrying I think it was a 12-inch bladed Bowie. It was a huge big behemoth of a thing. I mean, totally impractical, but you know, we were kids. You wanted the biggest knife you could get. And he got stopped by the police in little town Sandwich that we lived in when I was a child. And the policeman said, you know, where the hell are you going with that? And he told him he was going fishing, and the policeman said, well, you know, tight lines, or whatever the equivalent expression was in those days. And that was that. So there we are. The Richartz of Solingen, Richartz with a Z of Solingen hunting knife. So if you like the stuff, please give it a thumbs up. And if you want to see some more of this sort of stuff, I don't think there'll be many of these turning up on this channel, but you never know. Remember to subscribe and ring the bell if you want notifications. There we are. Thank you very much. Bye.